Welcome back to Mac's Garage. Today I'm with my winter beater for this winter, 2022-2023. It is a 2004 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD with the 6-liter gas. If you haven't checked them out, look at some of the other videos if you're into this style of truck. I'm probably going a little bit overboard, but the reality is that even though this thing is kind of a pile, I've started to like it. So things like shocks are something I wouldn't normally do on a winter beater, but this has 300,000 miles. It looks like it's still got original shocks, and we're gonna do, I've already done 3 of them. We're gonna do the last one here on camera. And then the other thing we're gonna do is an axle shaft on this driver's side. The one that's on it, the boot is all split, and it's throwing grease everywhere, which again, not really a big deal on winter beater, I guess, but I'm gonna get salt and all kinds of crap down inside of that CV joint, which is going to kill it. And I like this enough that I'm going to try to keep it around for maybe 3 or 4 winters before it's totally rotted out. Now, if you haven't seen any of the other videos that this truck is in, it's a 2004, it's 2022 right now. That means this is an 18-year-old truck. And this thing is super solid for the area I'm in. Like, this is Southern truck nice. Like, if you told me this was from all the way down by Detroit area, I'd believe you. It's that clean. It's not perfect, but compared to what most things 18 years old look like around here, this is about as good as it gets. So we're going to continue on the shocks today. I've got the hubcap already removed. There's 2 things I'm going to do from out here. One is zip this axle shaft nut off, and the other one is to start to remove the upper shock mount, which is accessible through the wheel well. And if things go well, I won't even have to take the tire off. So I'll bring the camera in and show you what I'm doing. Okay, now the reason that I'm doing these shocks and axle shaft together is that in order to remove this axle shaft out of the vehicle, you have to take either the shock out of the way or a sway bar link. And you'll get a little better view of that once we're up underneath. But for right now, I'm just going to zip this nut off of here. And that actually came off pretty easy, like maybe it was properly torqued. No, now it's stuck. You know what? It's the only time I'm going to need this socket on the whole job. It doesn't matter. Okay, so if I can keep the camera in here, I can't find any of this style shock tools. I used to have a shock breaker, and I also used to have some sockets that fit these tops. I can't find any of them, so we're just going to go ahead and put a pair of vice grips on the flat slide here, but I need to put the wrench on first. And this is what I mean, like, I wasn't kidding when I said Detroit area vehicles are way nicer than what I get up here in 99% of the time. That's a true thing. And the fact that this upper strut bolt is coming off of here, normally I have to cut or break these. Yeah. So this is very nice for its age. All right, I'm going to switch sides with these though. I wonder if this is what it's like to work on cars in the South. Do you guys just have bolts come apart? Things just unbolt like they're supposed to? Alright, now we'll get underneath the truck. Alright, so I'm going to start out by removing the shock, which, oh my god, it's actually coming loose. Not only is it coming loose, it is spinning through the shock bushing. So like, this is just pretty awesome. By the way, if you're wondering if I'm an idiot or not, I am, because the reason that axle nut is torqued properly is I'm the one that put it on. When I did lower ball joints on this on a different video, that's one of the fasteners I care enough about to torque. Dude, look at that. Not even rust. This is like factory coating clean. Wild. I know this truck did 275,000 miles in this area, and this just, it blows my mind. Why doesn't it want to fit? There it is. Shock out. Okay, so next we'll pull the 6 bolts around the axle shaft. I think it's 6. Maybe it's 5. We'll find out. Okay, so the axle shaft should just pop loose. Doesn't want to drop down though. Okay, axle shaft loose. Should just slide out. Damn. Okay. So while the compressor was charging up, I threw a little bit of anti-seize on the splines, which I now have all over my hands because I had to guide that up in. So I'll take a quick break, clean that up. Now that I'm back, this thing does have a zip tie around it, and on the back side of these, they have a plate that sometimes will pop off of there as you're trying to jam it into its home. So we're just gonna kind of start it up, then cut the zip tie, pull it out, and finish sliding this up into its home. No washers on these? Nope. All right. So once we get that up, go ahead and start all 6 bolts. After they're all started, you're going to want to go ahead and torque those to whatever spec they have in a crisscross pattern. So I'm going German on mine, giving them good and tight. Okay. Alright, so now that those are all Germaned down, we'll go back to the shock. Now shocks always come with different adapters and stuff that never really get good directions or make a ton of sense. On this particular one, the way that I think they work the best, or are going to work the best, is they've got a cupped style washer that's on the bottom, rubber spacer, and then there's a washer that helps align it into the frame area. So that's the order I'm going to go in, and then on the top side we will do the reverse of that. Okay. You can tell if somebody that works on cars in the Rust Belt cares about what they're working on at all by their use of anti-seize. So I put a little anti-seize on this. I'm going to line the shock bolt back up. Slips right in. And the reason we use anti-seize is because if you ever have to take this apart again, it's not going to be this clean. It'll be rusty. So the anti-seize should help with that a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to actually tighten this. I'm just going to snug it up. In fact, these bolts here that have bushings will be the last thing that I will tighten, and I'll do it when the weight of the vehicle is on the ground. So that's snug but not actually tight. The bushing can still rotate inside of there, and once the weight of the vehicle is on the ground, I will roll underneath it and tighten those up. Different shocks that matters on. Some of them it does, some of them it doesn't. This one has a fixed bushing. And what I mean by a fixed bushing is if you have a shock like this, that the center part, this metal sleeve, is forged in or manufactured in with the rubber, you don't want to tighten that while it's up in the air. And this is true of all suspension components, because when it goes down and sits at normal ride height, it puts a bind on this rubber bushing from day one and causes the rubber bushing to fail. So these shocks that I just installed happen to have one like the factory that have a bushing that is part of all one piece. So it's all like together. It's all melted together. It's all mushed together. It doesn't really twist. If you've got some aftermarket shocks that the sleeve just kind of slides in, guess what? It turns and the rubber doesn't really matter. Tighten it down while it's up in the air. You got this side, wait till the weight of the car's on it. The other style, do whatever you want. Alright, so now to lower this thing down to where I can get to the top bolt. Okay, so now that we're back up top, I take my assortment of different adapters here, center the shock up in the hole, slide this one on first, see how it kind of locks down into the frame. I'm not 100% sure this is right, but it's what makes sense to me. Put the rubber on, then the other washer, then we'll go ahead and tighten this up. Look at that. Looks like I can just hold the shock body and tighten it up. There's no internal stop inside of this one like the original had. You just kind of go until it is right. I'm going to stop right about there. The rubber has expanded out. No, I lied. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit more because the lower portion is not expanded out at all. I mean, it is some, but not like the upper. Okay, so I'm going to call it good there. This rubber is squished out to where it's a little bit bigger than the washers. The bottom is still a little bit smaller. So that was kind of what I was shooting for there, was having this at the same size. If you go too tight, you destroy the rubber and then it starts to knock very quickly. If you go too loose, you destroy the rubber and it starts to knock very quickly. So hopefully that's pretty close. All right, now for the tire or the wheel bearing area. I'm not even gonna raise or lower this thing. We'll just do it at this height because it's literally just sliding this axle nut on. And I'm gonna run this down, but I'm not gonna tighten it up too much. Oh, I just did. I lied. So we'll back it off a little bit. It's close, but it's not quite there. I'm gonna come in and torque that down to 177 foot-pounds, which is spec. This tire is just barely touching the ground. In fact, it may spin when I try to torque this, but you don't really want to have weight on it when you're torquing the hub center nut or the hub nut. This one on this Chevy truck is 170. Yep, see, it's spinning. Nope. All right, so I got to lower it a touch more. Okay, that should do it. 177 foot-pounds on these on this truck. Right there. Okay, so I'm not going to keep the camera rolling while I crawl around under this. What I'm going to do is let the full weight of the truck down, roll it off the hoist, move it back and forth a little bit, which will settle this front suspension, and then go through and tighten up those lower shock bolts. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this truck rides a little bit better. Hit the like, share, subscribe if this is something you enjoyed and would like to see more of. And even if you don't, it just helps me out and I appreciate that. But at the end of the video here, I'll see you later.